Xavier. Hi, Michelle. It's so good to all be together here today. We work together all the time as directors of research at AlphaSense, but we're rarely in the same place. And here we are in New York together in the same room. So I'm really excited to be here today. We're going to be talking about our roles as directors of research, and we're also going to be talking about how we use the AlphaSense platform to do our jobs, because we're really like power users of AlphaSense. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Maybe to set the stage, we can just start with some personal introductions, and I'll go first. I'm the Director of Healthcare Research at AlphaSense. Before I came here, I worked on the sell side. I covered a variety of industries, actually, energy and industrials, consumer, and then healthcare for many years. And then I joined AlphaSense about 3.5 years ago. Okay, who wants to go next?
Great, I'll go next. Sarah, it's great to see you in the flesh, in real life, because normally our meetings are by Zoom, and you're always in that 2-inch square.
Yeah, from my home in Montana.
Yeah, it's great to actually see you in real life. So I'm Xavier Smith. I'm Director of Research for Energy and Industrials. I've been at the firm for about 3 years. Before coming to AlphaSense, I was on the buy side. So I worked at some long-only firms. I worked at some long-short firms. I worked in New York. I worked in London. And I was an analyst, and I was also a portfolio manager.
Nice.
But it's kind of nice to do that transition over to tech. And I guess we'll talk a little bit about that later.
Oh, nice. All right.
What about you, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm Michelle Brophy. I'm Director of Research for Tech Media Telecom, so all things technology. Like you, Xavier, I've been on the buy side for many years before joining AlphaSense about 2 years ago. And yeah, I having been at both a hedge fund, a long short hedge fund, and then a family office afterwards, I really would have killed for this platform, and that was really the reason that really drew me to AlphaSense. AlphaSense is really, to me, one of the only end-to-end Gen AI solutions as it stands, and I've really been drawn to the platform even more so now with its added features. So I'm really excited to be here. And I guess just to take a step back, we should talk about our DOR roles, directors of research. We're really responsible for the content and generating, making sure that we have all the sectors represented within our sectors, the subsectors, and gleaning the insights which the technology helps us to do is really our job at its core. And so the functionality of the platform does lend itself to us being the power users of the platform. So.
Yeah, I really think of it as like we're responsible for making sure the content that's in the platform is relevant, it's timely, it's accessible to our clients, right? Just making sure that we have the right stuff. And then it's really elevating what's in there, the most important things, whether that's elevating that internally to our sales force so that they can talk with their customers about it, or it's elevating it to the customer or prospects or just the general public as we write about it, talk about the content, do a webinar on the content, that kind of thing. So it's getting the right stuff in the right place and then elevating the most important things is how I think about it.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, we're like the sector experts for our verticals for the firm. So that's great in terms of sales enablement, and it's also great for marketing. So.
Yeah. Okay, so you talked about how you ended up transitioning from finance over to tech. You want to expand a little bit more?
Yeah,
you made that jump because we're kind of like the oddballs here. We're like the three finance people at a tech firm, right?
No, like Michelle and I, we both spent a long time on the buy side. You spent a long time on the sell side. But like in all of our roles, like we've all been through a lot of these hype cycles, right? Like, Web 3.0, I don't even know if that exists anymore. Like, there's crypto, there's social media, and none of these things really captured my imagination like AI did. Mm-hmm. And AlphaSense seemed like a great way to leverage my knowledge of finance and my knowledge of the industrials vertical with AI. I thought it was really interesting. Just the whole marrying of AI technology with proprietary research just seemed like a natural fit and just seemed like a good way to go forward. When AI first came out, like we all played with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT seemed really great for like a general consumer. But AlphaSense was more like industrial strength, for that professional user. So.
You never could have imagined what AI would be able to do to the financial community, and you're so right. I mean, having been on the buy side and the sell side, what we're able to see with the platform is like enabling our customers to see what we see, and from our perspectives as power users, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, that is a super good way of putting it. Now, I'd like to say I had as much foresight as both of you did about the
What if I
AI
call it
piece.
foresight?
Well, maybe more thoughtful about it. But I'll say the thing that hooked me in was the expert insight. So the research that I had done on the sell side was very heavily interview based, talking with people who work in industry. And I personally conducted hundreds, if not thousands, of interviews, had a team around the world that did the same. And so I really value the power of expert insights. And what we had with AlphaSense is this proprietary expert transcript library, which was really a novel concept for me at the time. So both of you have, you've used expert networks. I know you've conducted a lot of interviews yourselves. You know that it's an expensive process. It's time consuming. You have to prepare for it. You have to find the expert. But with the transcript library, these interviews are conducted and available to you to access whenever you want. So it's literally like going into a library and checking out the books that you want, being able to read the individual interviews and glean insights. And this way, you don't even have to know that you're looking for something. Like you can stumble on something and say, wow, that's really interesting. I want to pursue that.
Yeah.
So that idea of us having it in one place, there's the time efficiency, the cost efficiency of doing that is really kind of what hooked me in the first place. And then when I understood how the expert insights were married with the other sources of information in AlphaSense, that's where I realized, oh my gosh, now we've got context.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's my point as to being like a financial analyst in the past, to have all of this in one place is just incredible. The expert transcript library, I think, is up to 200,000 transcripts at this point. You marry that with the vast broker research and the company filings, and now we layer AI on top of it, and it's just this really powerful experience of, this transformative story that can be told. Whether, I would have in the past as an analyst, if I identified a target, I would have gone and identified the experts I wanted to talk to, which would have been 10 to 15. And then I would have had to talk to those experts and then decided what out of what they had to say was important to pitch, my boss or the story that I wanted to tell and put it all together. And in its current form, Gen AI at AlphaSense does it for you. And it's a really powerful story with deep research. So, you're telling it exactly the way it is from a financial analyst perspective. And I think that's a really powerful tool that we have to offer.
Yeah, it's like you can say, okay, experts are saying this. Wow, that doesn't necessarily match with what companies are saying or what brokers are saying. I think there's something, different here.
Yeah.
And so out of consensus, and that's where obviously that's really valuable to our customers. I mean, and that's money, right? And when you can get that insight that like that light bulb goes off when you hear that thing in an interview. There's almost always a light bulb moment when you conduct an interview, right? And then you get that light bulb and then you can start connecting the dots and then you can start creating a thesis from that.
Those early inflection points are super important for investors and corporates. Just when things are shifting, that's what you want to look for. So, yeah.
And sometimes it starts with like one expert, or sometimes it can be a whole group of experts. But you just have to hear it directly from someone who's in the trenches, rather than, I don't know, someone at the company. Often they don't know when things are changing.
Yeah.
That can happen. They don't even know when it's changing.
100%.
So.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Zooming out a little bit to like our roles and how we use it internally, I think that's also a pretty important topic. And I'll just say a couple examples. Just recently I was getting ready for a sales pitch and just trying to enable sales on what was going on after earnings. And I literally just did a gen search asking what are companies saying about CapEx. Obviously, big tech has changed its tune or ameliorated its tune towards what they're doing in AI, and it's really marked an important inflection point for AI, actually. So I wanted to deliver that to the sales force so that they were able to turn that around to the clients and prospects. And it was just so easy to do it in natural language and pull a report that was, informed by broker research, informed by our expert transcripts that have gone into the library, informed by those earnings transcripts, all encompassed into one report in a really well-written manner and a great deliverable. And another example of just being on top of market research, which I know we all are, is following the IPO market. And obviously it's picked up recently.
Yeah.
And being able to just pull primers from the expert transcript library that we've already had that, may not be available to our customers has been a really powerful tool in my opinion. So
Okay, so give me an example. How long did it take for you to pull, I don't know, that report that you talked about to prepare for sales? How long did that take with the AlphaSense world, and how long would that have taken in your previous life?
I mean, I guess it would have taken weeks, right? Just to read different reports and pull together insights and have them available to me and to find them,
Right.
let alone go through them. Like I said, back in my family office days, I wouldn't have been able to access broker research, and having access to most of the broker research out there is in and of itself a huge tool that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
I think my favorite aspect of the AlphaSense platform so far is Gen Search and deep research.
Yeah.
I just love the way you can use natural language to ask a really simple question, like how many data centers are there in Europe? Or you can use it to ask a really deep question, like how will utilities support data center growth if they can't raise prices? That's something that everyone's kind of grappling with. Another thing everything's grappling with in the aerospace space is like, okay, so if there's tariffs in aerospace, how will these companies maintain their margins if they can't raise prices? And so it's great just being able to ask that question to the platform, and then it's able to surface all these insights on that. Just doing that research the old way would have been so complicated. You would have gone into like one portal for each broker to download the research reports. Then you go to your expert, library for whichever platform you're using,
conducted,
right?
Whether you'd conducted them or whether you used the service.
You're downloading them, and then you're reading them, and then you have to go to your independent research provider and then log into that and then download those reports, and then somehow you've got to combine all of that, synthesize it into something, whereas AlphaSense does that for you, which is fantastic. So one thing that's great about deep research is that it can write these reports for you. As you know, you spend so much time communicating your ideas to like your boss or to your clients, and that's so time consuming. The first time I saw deep research, the reports they can write, I thought it was insane. Just the way there's an executive summary, it does the sourcing for you, it can do charts, it can do tables. It just writes all these things in like a client-ready format, and that's just amazing. So I thought it was just super, super useful.
And it takes how long versus
I mean, that takes like, 30 minutes to pull all that stuff together versus like a couple of weeks, before to combine sell side and expert insights and all that together. So it's really time consuming.
Yeah, I know my process was like, it would be a window of 2 to 3 weeks to conduct all the interviews. There'd be some prep beforehand, maybe a week or so to like get the questions figured out and targeting who you're going to talk to. You run the interviews, then you analyze them, and that's like a solid day or two.
Even the scheduling and the compliance.
Yes, exactly.
Scheduling's terrible. Yeah.
And then you write the report, and on a good day, that report would take 1-2 days, and then again, you have your compliance review, and then you publish. Yeah. And just the entire process, it just takes a lot of time. And it's rigorous, but it has to be rigorous. I mean, look at the work we're doing. It has to be rigorous. Yeah. I love deep research too. It's changed my life, I'll be honest with you. So like you can generate this report so quickly on anything that you're interested in. And so for an example, in healthcare, there's so much happening in the space generally, but then within biotech and pharma, there are just so many catalysts to watch for. So I can use deep research to kind of track catalysts and then to narrow down the field of things I'm tracking. So for instance, I can look at a specific therapeutic area. Maybe I want to look at oncology. Maybe I want to look at a specific area with oncology, breast cancer or non-small cell lung cancer. And then I can track all the catalysts. So for instance, like what are the key clinical trials coming up? What are the FDA approval decision timeframes? What are the new drug launches? And then what does the competitive landscape look like every time there's something new that comes along? What's in the pipeline? Like keeping track of all that information. And these drug names are like impossible, right? Like
Wait,
no one
for
can
you?
pronounce
They're impossible
them.
For me.
Yeah, between the generic name and then there's a branded name and then there's like a numerical name when it's preclinical. There's just so much information and to keep track of it. But having a deep research that just like pumps this report out, with a table with all the catalysts in a calendar is so powerful.
Without the overload, actually. That's something to underscore as well. I'll talk a little bit about tech too, which has been so dynamic and changing daily, if not hourly. In the same respect, I've been tracking AI infrastructure using deep research reports, but we've also got GenGrid, don't forget. And GenGrid is really a valuable tool for areas like oncology where there's new reports coming out all the time. And also, GenGrid, we have the ability to put in competitors and look at different pricing dynamics, different, lead times when things are available, anything that's really important to our respective sectors, and really have, like you said, a report, but also a grid that you can actually visually see what's happening in a respective industry. It's really powerful.
It's amazing. Remember when we did that broker webinar on tariffs and how they would impact the economy? I found both GenSearch and Grid really helpful in terms of meeting prep, in terms of prepping us for that event. I mean, it would have taken us like weeks to prep for that and get the right question list going forward for it, but we were able to do it in a couple of hours.
And it was such a timely subject. It was it enabled us to be able to deliver that webinar in a really effective manner.
A short turnaround time.
I'll think about prepping for an industry conference. You know how long it takes, right? You're going to go to a conference, you're going to cover it, you want to figure out what speakers you want to see, who you want to see, what you hope to take away from it, how you can have information so you can ask intelligent questions, whether you're having those conversations in the hallway or that you're bringing them up in a session. Like that is another kind of application as a time saver, I think, for the AlphaSense product. Okay, I just want to expand on GenGrid a little bit because I absolutely love this feature.
It's amazing.
We all love it.
And I'm going to use Expert Insights again because I just also love Expert Insights. But with GenGrid, you can literally like stack up information. So if I want to look at what like 10 endocrinologists are saying about GLP-1 obesity drugs, arguably the hottest story in healthcare the past few years, I can...
Even I know what a GLP-1 is.
Even you know what it is. Exactly. I can do that. And then you can look at how this group of experts is answering the same question. And then there's a summary that shows like across the group was kind of the overall sentiment. So with the GLP-1 example, I might want to know about prescription trends, right? I might want to understand like what kind of volume changes they're seeing. That's simple stuff. We might want to see like if they've got preferences between which drug they're prescribing and how that's changed. That's been a really important part of the story when there've been first there was only one drug on the market and then we had another. And so understanding how that changed, understanding what their interest is in any drugs that are in the pipeline, because there are going to be just more and more entrants, understanding like if insurance is an issue in people getting their GLP-1s. And then I remember early in the story, one of the big questions was, would side effects, affect adoption of these drugs? Because the side effects are kind of nasty, GI, nausea, even vomiting. And so the question is, would people use the drugs? Would they adhere to the drugs? And that was a big question mark. And then I remember when I had that light bulb moment, I read that interview where a physician was saying, look, I've never seen a patient group so committed to staying on a drug because they're so motivated to lose weight and control their diabetes. And so people find a way to use these. If it were a different indication, people would not be using these drugs. Yeah. And then furthermore, the medical community figured out how to manage the drugs so the side effects weren't as severe. But just back to the point of people are going to try to stay on these drugs really kind of made me realize I don't think this is going to be as big of an issue as the street thinks it is. And sure enough, that's exactly what played out. And so getting back to GenGrid, maybe in that example, you just had one expert saying that in your group of 10, 12, 15, whatever you're looking at. And then you look at what a group says 3 months later. And now suddenly you've got more people saying it. And then you're like, aha, we've got a trend.
Aha moment.
Aha moment. And that's when you really, when you are getting information before it shows up in a spreadsheet, before it shows up in a report, before it shows up in an earnings call, that's really what our clients are looking for, right?
That's how they make money, right?
That's how they make money.
Yeah. So I had an aha moment with GenGrid for tariffs again, going back to that example. So there was a big question in the industry, which industries and which companies would have pricing power? Mm-hmm. Which of these companies could pass these tariffs on to their clients and which couldn't? So in civil aerospace, you could stack up the whole supply chain, right? You could be like wing manufacturers, window manufacturers, seat manufacturers, etc. Like the whole supply chain. You could ask them the question, will you have pricing power? Will you be able to pass these prices on to your customers? And they all were like, yes, we have pricing power. We will be able to do it. And that looks like it was borne out in earnings season. So it was nice being able to see that inflection point a little bit before earnings actually happened.
Yeah, 100%, Xavier. It was exactly the same thing with semiconductors. It was really interesting. I set up a peer group of all the semiconductor companies in GenGrid and looked at extending lead times. I looked at things like order patterns, if there were any blockages along the way, ASP impact. And it told a really powerful story about what was happening in the industry, and it was surprising and really kind of confirmed the power of it all. And I think it just underscores the power of all this research we have on the platform, all the insights we have on the platform, layered onto it, the AI capabilities we have on the platform. It's just such a powerful tool.
Okay, so this is coming from our resident AI expert here at AlphaSense, that you are like impressed with the AI technology here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, consider that a strong endorsement.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we talked about GenGrid, and what is also exciting about GenGrid is that it is facilitating this very new product that we have at AlphaSense, the channel check research.
Yeah.
And we're all familiar with what channel checks are from working in the industry, but it's a pretty simple concept. It's talking with people who work in industry, checking the channel, the distribution channel, whether that's talking with customers or distributors, to get their views, which can be different than what, again, company management is saying or what Wall Street analysts perceive, and then talking with that group regularly over time. And that's when you can really pick up the inflection. So you can do that with GenGrid and do it on your own, but now with the channel research product at AlphaSense, we're facilitating that for people who don't want to like actually set all of that up. And it's going to be a super powerful product. So that's what channel research is. I'm really excited about it and the speed with which you can do it, because it's not just getting the interviews, it's not just comparing the answers, but then you can use deep research to create the report, because that's the culmination of all the channel checking that there is. I don't know, how are you guys feeling about it?
I'm pretty excited. In industrial distribution is usually like the go-to sector that you use for channel checks, because industrial distributors are like supermarkets for industrials. They sell plumbing, they sell roofing, they do hardware. They just kind of touch a lot of different verticals, HVAC, things like that. And it's kind of difficult doing that on your own, just finding all these contacts. So it's nice that we've been able to automate that for people.
Yeah, and when I used to cover industrials, it's a
Yeah, that's right.
concentrated, back in the day, it's a concentrated channel. So if you can talk with just a group of key people, you can cover a lot of the market in that space and see how it's changing over time.
And then again, just looking for those inflection points is just super helpful. It's how you make money.
And I do think the AI tools elicit the inflections, the differences of opinion much more easily. Like the old days, it was a manual process. Like I would take notes in a notebook, and like each expert would be like positive view, negative view. Oh, last time they were like I would do all this like a notebook or some spreadsheet, Excel or something.
And then going back and looking at the past is hard.
Yeah. And then there was a point where we had it in a database, but still like it's light years behind having AI pick this up, summarize it, and then point you to exactly where those differences are.
Just to add to your commentary, Xavier, it's really interesting that, on channel checks, we're adding AI interviewer, which is really going to enable us to scale the product in a way that we have never seen before. So it's going to be incredible to see, how many interviews we're producing. I referenced that 200,000 transcript earlier, and it's really going to skyrocket from there. So it's going to be incredible to see.
It covers so many different subsectors, right?
Yeah, so many more companies, so many more subsectors. I mean, that's the biggest problem. We all know that channel research is super powerful. It's just really time consuming. It's really difficult to scale.
Right.
So yeah, this brings it, I think, to a whole new level at AlphaSense. It's a really good point. It's a really good point.
Shifting gears a little bit, we've been talking a lot about the qualitative aspects that you get out of the AlphaSense platform, but now with the introduction of financial data, you can get quantitative insights out of the platform. It used to be you had to alt-tab out of the platform if you wanted to do margin analysis or return on capital analysis or CapEx, and you needed the numbers, but now we have those numbers in the platform, and so that's super helpful. The addition of the Canalys models also helps with that. So now you have consensus data within the platform. So for any of our clients that are doing complex modeling work, you don't have to all tab out. It's all right there.
Right there in the company homepage, which is incredible. Like everything is there. The financial data is there. The Canalys models are there. The workflow agents are there. It's all right at your fingertips with all the data behind it that we all have been talking about here for a while.
It's like little research analysts.
Like you said, they're totally like a little analyst, just doing repetitive tasks for you so that you can concentrate on the high value insights instead of like the repetitive task of putting together a study or putting together the right prompts. It does all the prompting for you.
Like give an example, like how you would use a workflow.
There's
analyst in your
one
role.
for competitive benchmarking, right? And so you can take a company, you can look at its peer group, and then you can ask the same question of each of those companies in the peer group for competitive benchmarking or any of number of different items. But it just saves a lot of time.
Because it's pre-built.
Right, exactly.
It's pre-built for you, so you don't have to put all that mind share into figuring out
Exactly.
what questions you want to ask and make sure that you're always asking them the same way, because that's
Right.
another thing. You
Right.
could ask them different ways and you're going to get different answers.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, those are all great features too. I think obviously we're all big fans of this as users, and our appreciation for it has only gotten better. And with time, as all of these features roll out at like an accelerated pace, it's just really exciting to see how far it's come in the time we've been here, and just can't really even imagine where it's going to go next.
The iterations of technology we've seen over the last couple of years that I've been here have been incredible. And just to reiterate that, and AlphaSense has really turned into like this AI-driven market intelligence platform that's unmatched, as I said earlier in our conversation.
Yeah,
I'm just loving how the platform takes the sexy concept of AI and helps you actually do your job.
yeah.
It just really brings it home for a professional.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. And when I tell people like what I do for my job, that I'm director of research for healthcare for this company, and they say, well, what part of healthcare? And I'll say, all of it. Right. And I'll say, how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. When I first started, it felt so overwhelming. I mean, as you both know, like analysts usually cover a subsector of a sector, right? Not the whole sector, but you're covering all of tech, media, telecom. You're covering all of energy industrials. I'm covering all of healthcare. And how do you do that? You do that with AlphaSense. That's what makes it possible.
Right.
It's what makes it possible. You can, or the insights are organized. You can retrieve them. You can figure out what's important, and then you can figure out how to create a message for whoever your audience is, internally, externally, or whatever. So we got a big areas to cover, but I couldn't imagine doing it without AlphaSense.
It's a great summary.
All right. Well, with that, this has been a lot of fun.
Has been fun.
So much fun. Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
you guys.
Thank you. That's great.